Hello everyone and welcome to the travel category for the 2020 Iris Professional Photography Awards. We're into day 4 of this year's awards, and I'm going to bring in all of our judges. And I want to a huge thank you to our sponsor, from Paul from Nomadic Planets. He does some amazing tours around the globe. So get in touch with him if you are interested once our lockdowns are all finished and we can hopefully re-experience some of these wonderful locations again. So the travel category. So what you've seen is the first presentation was a slideshow of all entries in the travel category. Some of these were judged in the preliminary round, and now each entrant has an entry that has come through to the live judging today. So the second promo was for all the entries that came through to the live judging. So the travel category, here's the descriptor. Photographs that illustrate a destination or culture and communicate some aspect of travel, even if the location is local. Travel relates to an area's landscape, people, cultures, customs, and history. Photographs should express or reference either the feeling of time and place or simply portray the land or its people in its natural state. What I'm now going to do is introduce you, or get the judges to introduce themselves, and one at a time. And we'll start with Rachel. If you can all unmute yourselves and we'll go through.
Hi, I'm Rachel Smith in Palmerston North. I'm a Master of the NZIPP. I'm also on the NZIPP board, and I'm really excited about the journey that we're going to go on today.
Fantastic. Matt.
Everyone, I'm Matt from Australia. I mainly photograph travel and landscape, and I'm last year's Landscape Photographer of the Year for Australia.
And David.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm David Glazebrook, Master Photographer of the AIPP from the Blue Mountains in New South Wales, just outside of Sydney. I'm a people photographer Monday to Friday, but landscape, travel, astro, macro, I delve into it all. Looking forward to getting into it.
Awesome. And Steve.
Yes, my name's Steve Scalone from Melbourne, Australia. I'm a AOPP Master Photographer and WPPI Master Photographer. Yeah, and really looking forward to this category. I'm a commercial photographer, but travel as well. Well, not this year, but
hopefully later.
Yes.
Tony.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tony Carter. I'm a portrait photographer based in Taranaki. When I'm not doing that, I love to travel, and I'm looking forward to the day I can go a bit further than just around our mountain here. So yeah, I'm looking forward to today.
Fantastic. Jackie.
Hi, yeah, I'm Jackie Rankin, and I live in Twizel, the centre of the South Island of New Zealand. And I do a lot of travel with my husband, Mike Langford, but I'm a Grand Master of the Australian and the New Zealand Institutes, and really looking forward to this, getting out there and seeing the part of the planet through other people's eyes today.
Thank you. Paul.
Morning, everyone. Sun's just come up here in Tassie, snow on the mountain next to my house. I just come back from 8 days on the road. I love to travel. I've got 4 passports. I'm a Kiwi and Australian and American and European citizen. Fell of the NZIPP 2 gold bars. I think it's the last time I can say that, so I'll enjoy that. And Master of Photography 2 gold bars in Australia. And I think let's have a wonderful day and virtually travel through all these wonderful images.
Fantastic. And Catherine.
Good morning, guys. I'm Catherine Williams from Christchurch, and I'm Grand Master of NZIPP, Master of the AIPP, and last year's New Zealand Photographer of the Year, and predominantly portrait photographer in Christchurch. Absolutely love to travel. Super excited about the category today.
Fantastic. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do the run through of the entries that you'll be judging in this category. And take it away, Michael. Okay, judges. Right, let's get into this and let's have a little bit of an exploration of the world through virtual reality. Okay, we're going to bring up on the judging panel, first up, we're going to bring up Catherine Williams, Matt Palmer, Jackie, David, and Rachel. So if the rest of you can just turn your videos and microphones off and just hang around and wait to be called on. Okay, so let's get into this. Can we have the first image, please? And we have a score of 74. And we are going to have a challenge from David.
Yep, we are. Good morning, everyone. Let's kick this off. I think this is a really authentic character portrait. I think it's reflected both in the lighting and the mood. I think it's also reflected by the pose of the subject here. It's quite a humble, sort of understated pose, which I think goes really well hand in hand with the kind of culture that is represented here. It's very grungy. There's a really good grit to this portrait in terms of in the processing. If we look through to those sort of darks, particularly those greens on the back wall there, there's a really nice grittiness to it, and I feel it gives that sort of play to that into the workshop, and so therefore it hangs together really nice and authentically. Those nice little catch lights that fall across the fella's face there, I can see it sort of top lit here, but again, it feels like a fluorescent tube has sort of lit this, and so it's not overly done. I think it's a really authentic, honest portrait and a representation of a particular area.
Awesome. Thank you, David. I'm going to come to Jackie, who's on 66.
Yeah, I went 66 partly because I think with a little bit of an opportunity lost. The man is not doing anything in this space. As I've sort of come in a bit closer, it feels quite gritty. It almost feels like a little bit of movement in there. It feels a bit staged to me, but then I understand these sort of portraits, would be that way. So, yeah, maybe I could listen to somebody else who's also up there in that range.
Catherine, you happy to talk?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I'm closer to the end of Jackie. It just appears quite soft to me in the face, a bit of movement, and I really enjoyed what you brought to it in terms of the grunge and everything, but I'm finding it hard to get past the technical aspects of the softness and the light in his eyes. I really would have liked to have seen a little spark of light in his eyes there as well.
Awesome. Everyone else okay? We'll come back to you. David, you aren't actually alone up there, so give it a go.
Thanks, Kate. So, yeah, and I should have announced here too that my score, I'm at 81 at silver here. Catherine, I'm really digging deep here, but there is a very tiny catch light right in the top of almost 11 o'clock in both of his eyes there. Without me getting too zoomed in, yes, there is a certain softness to it, but again, I'm playing to the emotive sort of side of this piece here. In terms of Jackie was saying, with the fellas doing nothing here, but this is a pose for me, or a posture that sort of marks time where they just sort of hang for a minute. This is a comfortable, relaxed kind of thing. And as I sort of said, very understated, very humble in their pose, as opposed to trying to sort of give us anything of kind of real strength or character. Hence why I thought, this was a good piece of communication. And I'd encourage you to at least bump you maybe even up into a bronze here to sort of, kick this off. Anyway,
awesome. Thank you, David. Now I'm going to get you judges to rescore, please. David, if you can hold your score, re-enter it into the where it needs to go. And we have a bronze award at 75. So it's a really good start to the day. Fantastic. Congratulations to the photographer. Can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 66. And all sort of reasonably close there, but I'm going to come to Catherine. Would you have a comment for the photographer?
Yeah, absolutely. There's obviously an interesting possibility here, and I would really encourage the photographer to work this situation more, get in closer. Let's see his cards, get in there with a wider angle, and tell the story a little bit more. But right now, we're not quite seeing a story happening here.
Fantastic, good comments there. Can we have the next image, please? So we have a panel of wonderful judges today, and quite often during the judging, they agree on certain things, and other times a judge will find something different in an image that other judges may have missed. And that's why we have 5 of them on the panel. And we have a score of 70. And we're all happy with that. So I'm going to have a comment, please, from Matt. Matt, would you have a comment that you're for this entrant?
Yeah, I think as a great professional photographer selling some kind of tour or horseback kind of adventure, perhaps to improve it is just looking at the composition and making sure there's not those overlaps of the trees where the rider is, and just, making sure you position yourself so you can give your subject the most clarity.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 74. And I'm going to come to David. Would you have a, sorry, Jackie, would you have a comment?
Yeah, it's a delightful moment here. Perhaps the black and white conversion is a little bit grey and flat, and that maybe a little bit more of, there's a lot of empty space in here that could have been, so cropping in on the subject a little bit more and waiting for that other decisive moments, maybe when one of them's jumping in.
Awesome, thank you very much. Next image, please. So for all awards received from entries, NZIPP members and members of reciprocal rights organisations who run similar awards such as AIPP, they can earn merit points towards distinctions when they receive bronze, silver or gold awards. Just waiting on, yep, we have a score of 72, solid professional standard. And we are going to have a challenge. We're going to have a challenge from Rachel. Go for it, Rachel.
Yeah, I'm at 82 with this one. I really like that sort of sense of serenity and place that I'm getting from this image. I feel like I'm being taken to a place of contemplation, and I really want to spend more time with it. It's making me want to delve into it a lot more. The highlights I think are probably a little bit distracting in the windows for me, but I'm quite prepared to forgive that because of the pleasure I'm getting out of the journey.
Awesome, thank you. Can I come to David?
Yeah, g'day. Yeah, that's right. I'm on the other end of the scale here. I'm at 67, solid professional practice. I think for me, it was a matter of timing here. There was a timing that could have been had where our subject that is enjoying that light streaming through the windows here could have been a much greater participant to this image in terms of she got closer or intersecting greater that really highlight that's on the floor that's streaming in through the window. I found the highlight in the bottom left-hand corner a bit sort of taking me out, as well as a cropping in the very top left corner, that window that's only clicked in there, just a couple of little distracting elements, and that's where I felt it needed the polish to get me into an award status.
Awesome. Is anyone else wanting to make a comment, or are we happy to go back to Rachel? Yep, Rachel, write a reply.
Thanks, David. I can see what you're saying with regards to that highlight in the bottom left, and maybe a bit of careful cropping would have made it a little bit of a higher score, but I'm still really enjoying the journey. I don't think that the placement of the figure in the light would have made this any stronger for me. I feel like it's a moody, emotive journey that the subject is on, and it's working really well for me. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, judges. Can I get you all to rescore? And we've had a little bit of movement, so good conversation. We are sitting on 74, a solid professional standard. Can we have the next image, please? So the judges are viewing the entries on a PDF, which provides them with the highest quality we can, rather than on through the Zoom, which is what our audience is being shown them on. And we have a score of 75, a bronze award. And I'm going to call on, are we okay with that? Are we all happy with that? Matt, are you going to just have a comment?
I'll just comment if you need one.
Awesome. Yep, a comment. That'd be lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, there's some great detail in this animal portrait. What would help it probably a little bit more to even elevate that score is just dealing with the highlights on the shoulder of the camel. And if there was something in the background that helped place it as well, that would take it up even further.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I'm sure the photographer will enjoy that comment, that feedback. And can we have the next image, please? So as I mentioned earlier on, the NZIPP members and other organisation members can earn distinction or merit points towards distinctions. And those distinctions are the associate level, master with distinction, and grandmaster level. And we do have a couple of grandmasters or several grandmasters on today's panel. And we have a score of 68. And I'm going to maybe call on Catherine. David, no, you're happy to comment. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to comment here. You know, it's a great perspective here because it gives us that real feel of being enveloped in the water here. But I think the real interest here is the fellow that's standing out here on the horizon there to the right. But I'm unsure whether he's actually standing on a stand-up paddleboard, whether he's going along the rock shelf, and just trying to give him some sort of context or reason of sort of being there would add a little bit more to the story.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And can we have the next image, please? We have a score of 79, but we are going to have a challenge from Matt. Go for it, Matt.
Yeah, I can see what kind of held us back because it feels like a professional capture of a gold moment, but I'm leaning towards the gold moment. So I kind of see this as a story. It's not just about the monkey making contact with these stone, monkeys of the same species, but it's also, about human replacement of habitat and kind of forcing these species to adapt to a human environment. And then we idolize what is the natural environment in the human environment instead of potentially protecting what we should be doing. The expression in the monkey, even in the face and in the hands, it's just absolutely beautiful. I understand that there could have been done a little bit more in terms of processing to lift it higher, but what's been captured here is just incredible in terms of emotion. And even more interestingly, to have the monkey branded as well just brings that human story to things even more, and that human impact, and that none of these animals are able to escape the hand of man, so to speak. So I'm going to open up to you guys for a discussion.
Also, I'm going to come first to David, who's on. Okay, so Matt scored the image 86. I'm going to come to David, who scored it on 73.
Yeah, no, thank you, Kate. Yeah, I was, as I say, 73 professional practice here, the high end of professional practice. And I enjoy those sweet moments that you brought to us there, Matt, and even the commentary, and I thank you for your insights. It was some of the details that was actually beyond the main subject, the branch running through, the highlights in the corners, the highlight over the shoulder there, which I wasn't quite as enamored with. But no, I appreciate what you've brought to this, Matt. I'll certainly be coming up a few marks at least.
Catherine, were you wanting to make a comment?
Yeah, absolutely. When Matt said human replacement of habitat, it actually brought tears to my eyes. This is about how you feel. I feel I scored at 76, and I feel that I underscored it massively at 76, because I do feel technically it could have been brought together much stronger. However, the emotional content is huge here. And the intertwining of the real monkey's hand and then the stone monkey's hand is incredible.
Awesome, thank you. I'm going to come back to you now, Matt, for the right of reply.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that's been said negatively is just those little areas of highlight and that kind of thing in the back, and I concede that could have been handled better. However, I don't think we've lost too much in that. The photographers represented it quite authentically and hasn't edited it too much or anything like that. But I think we really should look at coming up into the silver distinction potentially to reward that emotive content and the power of the moment that's been captured by the photographer here.
Thank you. And you're not quite alone there, Matt, so let's see what happens. Judges, rescore, please, if you can hold your score. And we have an 84, silver award. Congratulations. Yep, we're allowed to clap. Can we please have the next image? And we have a score of 74. And Jackie is going to challenge.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to this. It has lovely hallmarks of great photojournalism, the edge of frame conflict with the paraglider coming down just on the beach in Queenstown. I happen to know where it is. There's lovely separation of the subjects in the background, and the gesture of the woman with her foot lifted up. There's obviously somebody being posed in the background for a wedding shoot. And there's this dynamics of two things happening in the same place, but giving me more of a story of a place, which is, a place of lots of weddings and lots of adventure sports. Yeah, I'd like you to reconsider. I'm on 83.
Thank you. Rachel, I am going to come to you on 68, the other end.
Yep. So I guess I didn't recognise the place. I didn't get that same sense of place. I was more confused by the interference of the paraglider into an image that I did see as being a staged shoot, and that's why I scored it in the professional standard range. I love the palette; it's really nice. I think that the way that they've handled the blacks as well has come through quite nicely, but I just didn't get that same connection as Jackie did.
Thank you. And does anyone else want to comment? We will go back to, Matt, you're happy to make a comment?
Yeah, not wanting to labour it too much. I wish that we had a bit more detail in the shadows on the left to establish that sense of place, and also to give a reason for all of that space on the left-hand side. I find like all of the action is here on the right-hand side, and maybe that's adding to the tension that Jackie's talking about. But I definitely enjoyed the moment and listening.
Awesome. Jackie, back to you.
Yeah, so I'm 183, and I still believe it is a silver. That dark area in the left-hand side, if I take that off, it brings a lot of emphasis back to the paraglider who is out of focus and moving. So I think that's why it's there. If there was more detail there, there'd be more of a story, but there is no story in that background. It's late afternoon light. And I think it is one of those happenstance moments, and just doing a shoot or seeing people, because as a tourist, you do see lots of weddings and things happening, and you can take your own slant off it. And I think it's been one of those, and it's brought two stories together very, very well. And yeah, I'm asking you to reconsider.
Awesome. Judges, can I get you to rescore, please? Jackie, if you just hold your score. And we have a bronze award at 78. So very solid bronze, and good conversation there. Congratulations to the photographer. Can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 72. And can I get a comment, please, from Rachel?
Yep. I think that this is a really nice capture. It's great concept architecturally and graphically, really nicely delivered. For me, I think that the brightness in the left and right of the frame is detracting from the subject and that perspective. So that if it was less bright on the sides there, it would have scored higher for me.
Awesome, thank you. Can we have the next image, please? So how the scoring works is a judge can challenge at any, Catherine, sorry, yep, I'll interrupt. Can I get, Tony, can I get you to step in for Catherine, please? Just for this image. Yeah, just waiting on your score, Tony. And we have a score of 87, silver distinction. However, we are going to have a challenge from Matt.
Yeah, I think this is a worthwhile one to sit with a little longer. For me, like, it's such an incredible narrative that's being shown here, and one that is possibly familiar to some of us here on the panel as well. That idea of, you know, when you're a photographer, you've made it to the top, or a presenter on some sort of subject, and, you know, there's a perception, you've got your fans, you know, you're talking up front, you're the awesome person, you know, you must be confident in your own work, doing amazing things. But there's so much reality behind it in terms of, you know, questioning yourself, anxiety, are you good enough? Why are you even here? You know, all of these self-doubts are communicated through some of those frames between the frames, such as, you know, the bottom left-hand corner, you've got this visual demonstration of feeling hazy or disconnected. You know, you're away from where you would normally live. You're in a foreign place. Do you even want to go outside? You're peeking through the curtains. Do you want to face that? And this story is about somebody that's really just going out and doing what's expected of them, and that is the TV, the presentation, but otherwise is mentally living this different life of doubt and, you know, self-analysis and all this kind of thing. So let's talk about it.
Okay, I'm going to come to Tony, who's, so Matt, you scored this image 96. Tony, I'm going to come to you on 82.
Yeah, I'm on 82, and if I'm totally honest, I know the person in the picture probably like most people, like Catherine jumped off. So, but I'm not saying I know the author because I don't, but I can guess, which I'm not going to. But so I suppose that was the struggle point for me, was actually knowing the person in the image and knowing their story and being able to separate it from the images that we're looking at. So, so I look at it and I think it's reasonably cohesive, but not totally balanced enough for me to bring it up into gold with distinction. But I'm going to sit here now and I'm going to listen to what the other judges have got to say and then weigh it up from there.
Okay, I'm going to come to both of you are on the same score. Rachel, I'm going to give everyone, because we are talking about gold, so we will give everyone the opportunity. Rachel.
Right, so I scored this 88, and I'm quite happy to come up into gold. I was a little bit unsure about that. Also, sort of like what Tony said about recognising the subject, but I can feel this very, very overwhelming sense of being on a roller coaster and not being able to get off. You've got yourself into a situation and you're just dealing with it as best you possibly can, and sometimes it's just too hard. And yeah, I think this is an incredibly powerful series of images, and I'm quite happy to go up.
Jackie, can I come to you for a comment?
Yeah, I scored at 83, and I guess I wasn't enjoying the layout of the long thin panels, and then getting to the end of the line on the right bottom, and it being so disparately different. And I kind of would have liked 9 images and being able to see them as a box. But if I can disassociate myself from knowing the person in the photographs, I can really see that story. But I'm not sure I can take it into that gold area at this stage, partly because of the disparate movement, and so different all the frames are, that they don't actually sort of flow together as one. They're all quite different. And I thought the layout, maybe an extra frame, would have given me a graphics of level that I could then enjoy it as a photograph, as one, instead of 8 separate images telling a storyline.
Thank you. David.
Jackie, the way I justified the 4x4 layout here, or the 2 rows of 4 there, I felt it was a bit like a film strip. We're getting sort of sections through the day, okay, and you read it left to right and top to bottom. I feel it's a real image about vulnerability. We look at how the subject is reflecting out. They're never to camera. They're always looking out. They're how they're feeling, and I feel like we've been really allowed inside that person's almost psyche. And so therefore, when I sort of read through that, and even right through to that last frame, right down the bottom right-hand corner, and how it really contrasts, it's so bright, sort of sitting in that tile room, but it's a frame of total exhaustion and, you know, and just willing to clock off. And the more I talk about it now, the more goosebumpy I'm getting. I'm certainly coming up at 88.
Thanks, David. I'm going to come back to you now, Matt, for write a reply.
Yeah, I would look. I don't mind the current layout. I can see what Jackie's saying in terms it could be a lot tidier and more cohesive by doing it that way. However, I think the long horizontal is actually forcing us to take more of a visual journey, and the photographers also kind of separated those lines to ensure that we're kind of reading it in order so that that narrative is coming through. In terms of the general visual cohesiveness, I'd probably say, look, we're judging travel rather than illustrative or portrait. And if these are true scene moments, so you are going to get that disparity or like a cohesiveness in those moments. And I think in terms of the post-production, the photographers brought it together probably as well as they could. And we could be looking at an image that's partly taken on mobile, or may all be taken on mobile, some of it on professional equipment. And they brought it together quite well. In terms of that last image, yeah, I get what you're saying in terms of it not quite fitting in. It is very different visually, but it's also, you know, that one part of the story that is the jarring reality. So in all of the other frames, they kind of hint at that reality, and at the very end, you get smacked in the face with it. So I think that's what I'm rewarding. I think, you know, try and come up to gold if you can.
Awesome. Okay, judges, I'm going to get you to rescore. So it is currently sitting on silver distinction at 87. Just waiting on Tony. And we have a gold award at 93. Congratulations to the photographer. Well done. And some absolutely fantastic discussion there. Okay, can we take a deep breath and have the next image, please? So what you may have recognised in that last image is that some of the judges did actually recognise the subject matter. We do require judges that feel they cannot judge an entry for any reason to step off, which Catherine did, to ensure that the entry gets as an unbiased and fair judging as possible. And other judges in that instance also acknowledge their knowledge of the subject, but not necessarily the photographer behind it. And we have a score of 69. And I'm going to come to David. Would you be happy to comment for this photographer?
Yeah, no, thank you, Kay. In terms of the capture, the technical issues in terms of exposure, etc. Yes, well caught. I believe this is a stage that's set, waiting for something else to happen. It may hark of times past, but I can see some chairs sort of right down the end of the corridor down there, and it's like, you know, something waiting to happen. So even if it was a wedding, for argument's sake, that was going to happen here, you know, a hint more that would give us a much greater connection and enhance the narrative.
Awesome, thank you very much. Okay, we are going to have to do a quick judge change. Going to keep you rotating today, keep you fresh. For some of you, it's quite early in the morning. Steve, can I bring you in for Matt? And Tony, can I spot you for Catherine? And in doing that, we will have the next image, please. And we have a score of 72. Tony, you're right on that edge. Are you able to provide a comment?
Yes, so I think I enjoy all the lines and you know, and how it's happened, but just sort of try to think a bit more graphically with you know, with that white line sort of cutting through the middle. Sort of need to have something a bit more graphically going on.
Awesome, thank you very much. Can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 74. And Rachel was going to challenge that.
Yeah, I scored this 82. I feel like what brings it into silver is the photographer has used this beautiful morning light to highlight the busyness of the street scene. I think it's really well captured. The highlights that are showing on those crazy wires, cities in Asia that have those, it's just such a characteristic of that particular part of the world. And I feel like it's sort of like a voyeuristic view on everyone's morning, and I'm really enjoying the journey and the light, and yeah, I think it deserves a little bit more.
So I'm going to come to Jackie, who's on 67.
Yeah, and this is a view out of a taxi window to my eye, something along those lines. I can see, yeah, yes, definitely that. But it's for me, the lost moment. Why am I seeing the back of a person's head with other cars on the left-hand side? They're the biggest elements within the frame, and I can't see any sort of storytelling element to that. Looking down the street, there's just people in cars, and so I just thought there was no decisive sort of storytelling action that told me really where I was besides Asia.
Okay, is everyone else okay? We will come back to Rachel for a right of reply.
Sure. So the story for me is that I mean, it's obviously in Asia, but it's a daily commute. It's the travel that we all do every single day, and that early morning light, which we often miss the best part of because we're busy heading to work or wherever we're going. And that's the people going about their day. That the story for me is is in the everyday, I guess.
Awesome, thanks Rachel. Okay, judges, can we all rescore please? And we have a score of 74. So it stays the same, but is a solid professional standard. Fantastic. Okay, we have the next image, please. And we have a score of 77, solid bronze. And believe it or not, you're all very, very, very close. Congratulations. Can we have a comment? David's happy to have a comment.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit in the cropping here. I think the right side's a little heavily weighted for my liking. It would have taken the subject out of being sort of almost just off symmetry there. Love the little white snowdrift at the back that points us almost to the beginning of the road. Good seeing.
Awesome, thank you. And the other judges nodding there in agreement. Can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 76. And we are all happy with that. I'm going, is this a challenge, Steve?
I can challenge, can't I?
You can challenge, yes. Yeah. That's why I hesitated.
Yes, good out. I can't count to 5, clearly.
Yeah, use your fingers.
Yeah, look, I do think that we do need to commend, I scored it an 82, so a good solid silver. I think we do need to commend the photographer for capturing a moment like this in some very strange circumstances where we can't move such things as background distractions and things like that. The lighting is really quite beautiful, and there is a very solid human and animal connection between this image. So yeah, I urge you to have another look.
Thank you. And I'm going to come straight to David, who's on 71.
Yeah, no, Steve, I see that connection that was happening there. I felt there was a relationship that was happening between human and animal here, but there was an opportunity there for almost a greater an interaction here. And I felt like it was almost just waiting for it. Was it in the next frame? Was it the frame beforehand? And I also found that the highlight on the bird feeder there, that almost being the brightest part of the subject there, that's what I was drawn to in the bottom left-hand corner of that cage. And so I'm trying to struggle to come back to that and just trying to reconcile all that.
Awesome. Anyone else wanting to comment? Otherwise, comments? No, we will go back to Steve.
Yeah, for those reasons, Dave, is probably why I didn't even score it higher. I do think that this is really a still moment, and that nothing like the frame before or after probably didn't change that much at all. Yeah, it just has a really beautiful emotional feel to it.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, judges. Can I get you to rescore, please? And we have a silver award at 80. So your discussion worked. Congratulations to the photographer. Can we have the next image, please? So judges can challenge a score if they are 5 points or more away from the announced score. So sometimes it does take finger counting, just to sort of, am I or aren't I? But they can challenge and they get a right of reply after having a discussion with other judges' comments. And we have a score of 75, bronze award. Congratulations. Everyone happy with that? Can I get a comment from Tony? You're just right there on the middle, on the money.
I just love the coldness, or maybe I need to turn my heat pump up a wee bit or something. But yeah, I just love the fresh nature of this, and just how us New Zealanders like to vandalise things. But yeah, I think it's just a lovely step out of the car and grab that shot, and good on you. I think it's lovely.
Jump back in and keep warm. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 71, solid professional standard there. And I'm going to call on David. You happy to make a comment for the photographer?
I think, Kay, this is a really good demonstration of a frame within frame, and a moment of everybody sort of staring at the gentleman here on the left-hand side staring at the back. But I'm looking for either something in the jeepney behind, or something that's happening in the street to sort of give us an enhanced narrative.
Beautiful. Can we have the next image, please? So as judges score, they all have a scoring criteria that they work to around how to position an image into the different scoring ranges. And they range from below professional standard, bronze award, silver with distinction, gold, and gold distinction. Ever elusive. And we have a score of 74, solid professional standard. And I'm going to call on David. Jackie's happy to comment. Yeah.
Yeah. I know this spot where the photographer's standing, and it's a great lead line down into Queenstown. I'd just be perhaps cropping off the top of the image that it's not part of the story. I think would be stronger.
Awesome. Thank you. Good feedback for the photographer. Can we please have the next image? So you'll see the judges turning their heads side to side. They're all viewing images on different screens to what they are scoring their entries on, just to get the best image they possibly can for scoring it and judging. And we have a score of 73. And we're all happy with that. So I'm going to call on Tony. Would you have something you might be able to maybe help lift the score on this comment?
Yeah, I think you know, it's a great moment when you reach the peak of something like that. But just watch your highlights and maybe even give you a bit more of a wider view of it, so you're not just sort of really staring at the person in front of you. Getting more of that expanse.
Fantastic. Okay, we're going to do a quick judge swap. I'm going to bring Catherine in for Jackie, and I'm going to bring Paul in for Rachel. You take a little break. And can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 76, solid bronze. And we are having a challenge from Steve.
Yes, hello. I scored at a high silver at 84. There is far more into this image than at first glance. The beautiful scene and the strange advantage point that is actually taken here really gives us a sense of place. There are some distractions, which is why I didn't even go higher, and that's mainly that very sharp straight line to the left. But I feel that that's deliberately kept in because of the beautiful subtle pools that are slightly brighter on the diagonal end of the composition, top right. So I do feel that everything in this image is very deliberate. The color combinations, the blue and the greens, just really work well and do give me a real sense of this space.
Fantastic. I'm going to come to David, who's on 70.
Yeah, Steve. Thank you for your insights there. This image came up. I found that the figure was very central to frame. I mean, she's almost bullseye to the frame there, and I felt like the story for me is perhaps about how she's foraging across this shoreline here or something like that. And so I'm looking for a pathway to sort of navigate and somewhere to go. And her back is towards the dark side, which whether it's either done, whether it was either captured that way or it's been done in post. I feel that right side is quite dark. I'm trying to look for a reason to, for the centralization of the subject, as opposed to sort of being anywhere else in the frame and traveling, if she was on the right-hand side, traveling to the left, etc. So maybe you can talk to that in your reply.
Yeah, Paul, you're sort of in that middle range.
Yeah, I want to come up, but I feel like there could have been so much more atmosphere and isolation of subject and life brought into this image from a different time of day or a different sort of lighting structure. It's very flat. It's very sort of lost to some extent. I feel like the highlight in the central top is really pulling me up away from the central figure. And I guess I'm trying to reach in and feel a narrative like this. My first sense is there's not much life in the scene, and she's trying to scrape and trying to find something from maybe what's not even there, and it's a very difficult process to even find any products in there, which might lift me up. But I'm listening to you, Steve.
Awesome, Steve. We are going to come back to you for right of reply.
Yeah, certainly. There are many elements that I agree with both of you in terms of that kind of perhaps disconnect in a narrative, which is why I didn't even go further in terms of my scoring. I do believe that the way this particular scene has been captured is completely deliberate to what the photographer wanted to represent to us. And I could only assume that she's harvesting some sort of seafood, and that process perhaps is very isolating, hence that direct bullseye sense of symmetry and things like that. So, yeah.
Awesome. Can we all rescore, judges? Just waiting on your score, Paul.
Oh, you have to press return afterwards, is that right?
Yep, yep.
Gotcha. Done.
Perfect, perfect. And we have moved 1 point to 77. Very, very solid bronze award.
I'll take that.
Congratulations. We'll take that, yeah. Always good. Okay, can we have next image, please? And we have a score of 87, silver with distinction, and several of you are right on there. Awesome. Can we get a comment? Who's wanting to comment on this one? So it's just a comment, no challenge. Steve, yep.
Yeah, I'll make a quick comment. It's very rare in an image that only within 2 elements, it immediately takes us to that place and time. And yeah, brilliant, brilliant.
Awesome, thank you. Can we please have the next image? And we have a score of 73. Solid professional standard. However, we are going to have a challenge from David, who's on 78. You're not alone there.
Thank you, Kay. Yeah, I thought this was a real good comment or commentary on time and place. You know, of course, we're struck by our initial figure there who's putting it all out there and really doesn't care, kind of thing, you know. He's quite happy, and obviously he puts it out there regularly. Look at how tanned and leathery his skin is. You know, and then obviously you got the nice little whiteness across the top of his speedo, and then we're sort of presented with the we get into the rest of the scene and we look at the render of the building here, which really harks back to sort of an 80s sort of style, probably when it was his day too, you know, when he was really out there. So in terms of making a comment about a time and a place and a subject, I think that really sits quite nicely together. And the graphical nature of these bars, etc. So in terms of a good piece of reportage and just a moment that's, you know, an authentic scene.
Awesome, thank you. And I'm going to come to Steve, who's on 68.
Yes, I can see those elements, Dave, within that. I feel that apart from the kind of similarity of the colour of the building and his leathery skin, I can't find that correlation or narrative. And for me, I perhaps need that further. To me, it is kind of, it's lacking that. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Paul, I'll come to you for a brief comment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the color palette's superb and the handling of the tonal range and contrast is fantastic. Where I feel like it needs to be in a different position to come up to another level is compositionally. This subject is very interfered with and overlapping of a lot of elements. It's not very isolated or given as much kind of contextual cues about what he's doing there, but particularly that sort of interference compositionally where he's just murking into some very conflicting backgrounds and he's not sort of isolated and popping forward like I'd love him to be.
Awesome. And we have Tony, very, very quick comment.
I'm on 78 and I think it sits quite comfortably there. I think it's just totally banal and not really about composition or anything. It's just about that Joker and him just standing there and the photographer just seeing it. And I think it's a bit quirky and deserving of where it sits.
Awesome.
In bronze.
Thank you, Tony. David, back to you.
Steve, to your point about just time and place, I also look at the architecture here. The architecture does hark of that period as well. It matches that color palette just bang on. In terms of Paul, you were talking about how sitting within the frame, in terms of to sit within this frame with all these bars, both him being fenced and the windows being barred in, you know, yeah, exactly. He'd almost have to be standing on top of the rail or something like that, you know. But in terms of how it all sort of sits together, in terms of a comment of time and place and how this could be really retro, you know, I think it does that quite well for a bronze award. So please come on up.
Awesome, guys. Can we rescore judges, please? Currently sitting on 73. And we have that bronze award, solid bronze at 78. Congratulations. Can we have the next image, please? So just a reminder to entrants and who had entries in this category. The top highest scoring entry from each entrant came through to the live judging. And also, if you are wondering, we will be releasing the scores from the preliminary round after the conclusion of all the judging and all the finals judging. So that may take a little time after the live judging has closed or finished, but we will let you know when that happens. And we have a score of 84, silver award. Congratulations. And do we have a comment from Paul?
Yeah, I think this image is utterly superb graphically and very sophisticated in a lot of ways with the way the leading lines both lead in and out of the frame. I love the way the end point of this power line ends in there. I love the repetition of the other boats in the background. The turnaround is just handled exceptionally. It really, really brings you into this place. Well done.
Awesome. Thank you. Next image, please. We have a score of 81, silver award. And Tony, would you like to comment?
Yeah. It's yeah, I was on silver distinction, so maybe I should have been a bit braver with my score. But yeah, I just think this, you can feel the wind blowing through this place, and just the isolation, and I love the way the dark clouds at the top pull you back in. I suppose if I was going to say something to the author, just watch where the power lines are running through things, through buildings and things. Maybe a slightly different perspective, but I really enjoy it.
Fantastic. And can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 75, bronze award. And I'm going to come for a comment from Tony.
Could somebody else comment on this one?
Oh, yep. Anyone?
Yeah.
Steve.
Yes, it's quite a humorous scene, and I can only assume that they're cardboard cutouts of some description. But the way the photographer chose to eliminate most of the distracting elements is well done.
Awesome. Thank you. Can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 73. Solid silver. Oh, solid silver. Solid professional standard. And I'm going to come to Steve. Steve, are you happy to make a comment on this one?
Yeah, absolutely. I scored it in a bronze. I feel that the treatment that has been placed upon this is really gorgeous in terms of it almost starting to look like an etching. Perhaps a revisit on a crop could maybe eliminate or make clearer what's actually in the scene.
Awesome, thank you. Yep, a couple of judges there agreeing in agreement with you. Can we please have the next image? And we have a silver award at 83. And we are going to have a challenge from Catherine.
Yeah, I gave this 88. I find technically it's exquisite. The handling of this is beautiful. We've got detail everywhere we want detail. We've got exactly enough separation to separate our subject from the background. We're drawn right into the subject's eyes. And then we've got this interplay of shapes. We've got the circles with the lines and the textures that are coming over that just envelope the subject and really draw you in. And then you've got the horizontal lines across the face as well. So you've got this interplay of different shapes and keeping you exactly where you're meant to look, right in those eyes. Also feels like a real timepiece as well. A very enduring shot.
Awesome. Can I come to Tony? Tony for comment, please. You're on 78.
I'm going to change my numbers around, so it'll be 87 when I do it next time, because I missed the mark. So I apologise to the photographer. I think it is quite beautiful. And there's a story there with the tribal paints there, and then the modern outside exterior covering. So I quite like that. So I apologise, I've been naughty. I'm going to rectify that now.
Awesome, thank you, Paul.
Yeah, I'm on 83, and I'm going to come up and join you in Silver Distinction. I'm really sitting with a sense of sophistication and elegance and sensuality in terms of what the photographer has brought to this capture, and their understanding of light and composition and framing is really quite superb. Every single slight little element of backlighting on the shoulders and the interplay of shapes. And I guess Catherine really brought that geometric kind of element into the equation as well, where there's this complexity of shapes and interplay. And yet the ultimate core of it is so strong in terms of that engagement with subject and that very clear and present capacity for us to be really connected with this person in a foreign place. It's Silver Distinction.
Fantastic, thanks. Catherine, wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you very much for your comments. I think there is some simplicity to this image, and sometimes it's easy to underlook or undervalue simplicity. This is simplicity done to a very, very finest, and it brings everything in and creates a beautiful timepiece, a very high level of craft to bring this to us.
Judges, can I get you to rescore? Catherine, if you put the same score in, and everyone else has the opportunity to change their score. And we have moved a lot, and we are 87, Silver Distinction. Congratulations to the photographer. Yeah. Now we are going to have a quick judge change again. We're going to bring in Matt for Tony and Jackie for David. You guys can have a little break. we have the next image, please? Let's get your scores, please, judges. And we have a score of 71. Can I, Matt, you're happy to comment on the image.
I was going to challenge.
Oh, you're challenging. By all means, challenge.
Yeah, at first I was a little bit conflicted because I felt like no one was engaged with the camera, but then I thought, well, no one is engaged with the camera. This person that's taken this photograph is completely invisible and put us in a spot as if we're like a ghost observing what's going on around us. It's complete and utter chaos, and the photographers captured that really well. The dog poking in from the left-hand side is a nice little humorous touch. The elements, for the most part, are very well placed within the composition. There's not much of an overlap, and the only overlap is really quite an unimportant one, and that is the back of the jacket there. You've got all of this kind of recurring theme of motorbikes. So on the signage, there's one in the shop, there's one coming through the foreground. I feel like this really speaks to this place and what this place is like, and I'm wanting to reward the photographer with a bronze.
Thank you. And I'm going to come to Steve, who's on 63.
Yes, yeah, I scored this image professional practice. I do see those elements that you're discussing, Matt. I exceptionally love that dog on the far left just kind of looking in. I feel that the stage is set for a composition perhaps, or a decisive moment perhaps, that hasn't been quite captured yet. I find that the bulk of the most out of focus part of the image is just that little bit too large and pulls us away from the actual scene.
Awesome. Can I now have anyone else wanting to comment? Otherwise, we'll go back to Matt. Oh, Jackie, you're happy to comment?
I was on 74, so I was on that little borderline, and I can see how that front motorcycle, even though he's out of focus, it does reference the background motorcycles on the right, and there's a kind of like a nice framing of the motorcycle seat. Just the little boy's in the middle at the back, though. That's the sharpest point. And that little boy's got his head turned. I'm wondering about that part of the story. But I'm listening to you, Matt.
Thanks, Steve. Matt, back to you for write a reply.
Yeah, I don't mind the out of focusness of the motorcycle. I do agree that it is quite a lot of space to devote to something that is out of focus. However, if you look at where it's positioned in the frame, all it's really taking up is the space that would otherwise be wall or the rubble on the ground. So where I would normally penalize something like that a little bit, I feel like it's not actually detracting from the specific scene because of how it's been placed. In terms of the other concerns, let me just think. Yeah, the sharpest point being in the center there. Like, I feel like there's quite a lot of detail in the storefront and all that kind of thing as well. Yes, the sharpest point is in the center and he is turning his head away, but I feel like that's adding to that invisible nature of the photographer who's kind of just dropped us in this place without actually making their own presence known in the photograph. And it is a little bit of a human moment between those two characters, even if it isn't fully accessible to us as well. In terms of the moment, I feel like if we did have that moment that Steve is maybe yearning for in this scene, then we would be talking about high silver distinction kind of area. But for now, I think it's a really good capture of this suburban scene that tells us about the character of the place and the people and transportation and that kind of thing.
Awesome.
So I'm up to bronze.
Thank you, guys. Can I get you to rescore? What are we missing here? Missing one score. Matt, your score, if you can re-enter your score, please.
Sorry.
Yep, no, that's all good. Okay, so we have a bronze award at 76. Well done for that conversation. I'm sure that photographer is very pleased with you challenging that. Can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 82, silver award. All very, very close there. I'm going to come to Matt. Matt, what do you see if you get a comment that might even improve this even more for the photographer?
I'm not sure about improving it. I'm just really enjoying what it is. Perhaps the bottom left corner is a little bit hot in the building there, but I think it's a fantastic documentation about the style and aesthetics that people are aspiring to in this place. And then there's also some subtle details such that talks about the construction of the buildings, even being able to see the bits of grass coming out of the wall. So I think the photographer's done a really good job. Perhaps just a little bit more of an engaging moment, or maybe a little bit more of the mother's face in the background there that you can just see through the door.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Can we have, oh, actually, no, we're going to do a quick judge change. Rachel, I'm going to bring you in, and Steve, you can have a little break. And can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 81, silver award. And Catherine is going to challenge.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on 88. I feel like we're looking at film here. This is a time capsule. The garish colour in the outfit that he's wearing and the brick, his pose that mirrors the pose that we're seeing of this woman on the box. And then we see what he's got for sale. You know, we're talking about some very old technology here. And then we've got the little sticker on the box that has, once again, we've got the sticker of the radios on the box. And then looking in at these details even more, it looks like we've got a Jesus figure sticker on the box that I feel like is just sort of over the top of these other stickers. And the confidence in this character, he's looking right into the frame, and just really enjoying that, the handling of the sort of garish colour that brings it all together.
Fantastic. I'm going to come to Matt for a comment, who is on 77.
Yeah, I kind of saw the same things and scored that into the bronze level. There's probably like a little bit of a distraction in terms of the highlight on what I think is a radio or something like that on the left in the middle of that pile. But I don't really have too much to criticize, so I'm just going to listen to how you wrap this up.
Okay, is anyone else? Otherwise, we will go back to Catherine for right of reply.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Oh, sorry, it's Jackie.
Catherine,
Oh,
Jackie, you wanting to,
sorry.
Jackie,
String, am I allowed to talk?
you can talk.
I scored at 83, and I'm listening to this really believable character, and I get the environment, but I just love that piece of string that's linking him to the box. And that's this little X factor that brings a question that really doesn't have any answers, but that's what engages me.
Awesome. Back to you, Catherine. Right reply.
Thank you so much, Jack, because I think the string is, this guy's a traveling salesman. He goes around and he sets up in different places, and he's very attached to his box of goodies. I think we see great story, in the travel category. There's certainly an amazing reference of time and place, and this time and place is not recent. We're looking something from several years ago.
Okay, thank you. Judges, can I get you to rescore, please? And we have a silver with distinction on 85. Yep, I got that right. Silver distinction, 85. Congratulations. Good talking. Those few points make all the difference. Can we have the next image, please? So when it comes to selecting the finalists in the category, the top 3 highest scoring entrants in the category, based on the top 3 highest scoring entries that are from both the preliminary round and the live judging round, will be chosen to be part of the finalists judging. So every point does count. Catherine, just waiting on you. And we have a score of 80, silver award. And we are going to have another challenge from Catherine.
Yeah, look, I feel very emotional looking at this. This photographer has brought us this subject at a very challenging time in the day to photograph, and used it to their absolute advantage to bring us this almost monochromatic palette, but with the red coming into the side, which to me, I get this symbolism of, we've got this deep symbolism of death and then we've got this reoccurring pattern that comes all the way through in quite a dynamic sort of way. And then woven in that, we've got this connection that looks like bird feet, going all over the place, but no human feet. We just see bird feet. Or bird footprints all the way through this. And you can't leave this shot. You just weave in and out through the lines, and the repetition comes through very strongly.
Okay, I'm going to come to Jackie, who's on 72.
Yep. Okay. I was conflicted a little bit by the image being flicked, turned onto the side for the travel category, that a photographer wouldn't actually hold their head that way, but as a way of bringing us an interpretation of this place, I'm getting that now. I think it's stronger in a crop, and I think there is something to do with the star being right in the middle of the frame there, that's separating these crosses out. So my conflict was that, it is a travel category. Does it fit in with that, and what's the story? But I love the story of all these little footprint. So yeah, I'm listening to you, and I'm certainly going to come up my score. So there you go.
Awesome. And I'm going to go back to you, Catherine, for right of reply.
Yeah, I really feel that in terms of the travel category, this is certainly we're looking at a destination. It's an unusual destination presented in an unusual way as a graphic presentation, turned on its side for the reason it absolutely wouldn't make any sense if it wasn't turned on its side. This is the projection of death on the sand in a dynamic way.
Thank you. Can I get judges to rescore? And we have a score of 85, so silver with distinction. Congratulations. And another good conversation there in terms of enlightening the other judges. Can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 82. We do have two challenges here, but I'm going to go to the highest scoring. So that is Catherine again.
Okay. All right. So palette, absolutely beautiful. The contrast of the warm against the blue. Our monkey on the top. I'm absolutely drawn in by the monkey on the top, the little crown on the top of the story, and with an actual almost crown next to it. Compositionally, really exciting composition. The golden light on the reflection of the door frame with the shadow, which is initially, it's a little bit confusing about what we're looking at, but we're told everything we need to know when we come across and we see the clothing hung over on the side there. So we get an understanding of what this figure is doing there. Got a beautiful interplay of different textures in the stone wall and the bricks all coming through. Really beautifully handled as well. We've got details everywhere we need to see details. Really enjoying this.
Awesome. Can we get a comment from Rachel? Are you wanting to comment?
Yep. I scored at 76, and I'm happy to listen and reconsider. I think for me, the clothing on the left, it did draw my eye away from what I felt was more the key subject matter, which was the monkey and the silhouette, the shadow. And also there seems to be, could just be me, a little bit of a halo or glow just around that minaret next to the monkey, which is distracting, but I do enjoy the palette and the textures and all of those things that Catherine mentioned as well, so I'm happy to listen.
Jackie, are you wanting to comment? You were actually up there with
I was on 87, and I think it's a beautifully told, story that we can bring to it whatever we like, but it's so minimalistic. It's this an old, very old part of perhaps India, but it's been so beautifully swept and kept clean, and the washing or the things hanging up on the side is a perfect balance for the right hand side. It's beautifully composed, nice being at the right place at the right time and catching emotion, which is the silhouette of the man on the door and the monkey being at the right place. That's what brought it into that silver distinction.
Fantastic. Okay, Catherine, I'm going to come back to you for right of reply.
Great, thank you. Yeah, sounds like we're really there. I just think the compositionally absolutely beautiful. The balance of the way we've got the really soft, the soft contrast, and then the bright, intense contrast and intense color, exactly where it needs to be to tell the story. Without the clothing on the left, I feel the story would be incomplete in terms of a narrative. It's a very complete narrative, very well handled.
Awesome. Judges, can I get you to rescore, please? So we're currently sitting on 82. And we have a solid silver distinction on 86. Well done. Congratulations. And we'll have the next image, please. we have a score of 79, bronze award. And we're all happy with that. So we are going to come for a comment from Catherine. What do you think the photographer might do?
Well seen in terms of colour at a very bright time of the day. We've got some nice shapes going in there. The seagull's beautifully placed. I am a little bothered by the lines on the building, which is sort of holding it back a little bit for me. But I think it's a great capture. Well done to the photographer.
Awesome, thank you. So just judges, we're just going to go back and play the promo for our sponsor, who is Nomadic Planet. So just hang fire and we'll be back very, very shortly. An advert break. This very special thank you to our sponsor, Paul from Nomadic Planet. And yes, he's hoping that 2021 allows us to do a little bit more travel. Okay, we're right back into it. And can we have the next image, please? Sure, just waiting on you, Rachel. And fantastic. We have a score of 77, solid bronze award. And we are all happy with that. So I am going to have a comment from Paul. If you want to unmute yourself.
Very, very elegant use of lighting, strong primary colours, a beautiful amount of breathing room in terms of our lead-in from left to right, and a slight subtle extra inclusion of the shadows from another area that are just adding something else into the wider context. Beautiful image.
Thank you very much. Can I have the next image, please? And we have a score of 82, silver award. And anyone wanting to comment? I know obviously you all quite enjoyed this image. So Paul, comment from you for the photographer.
Yeah, this is an image I'm going to remember for a long time. I feel like it has an incredible painterly, almost otherworldly, ethereal quality to it through the soft sort of depth you can read all the way back into frame, and this kind of it feels quite poetic in terms of the positioning and the composition of the subject matter. Is it a dog that's sitting there at the resting place of its master? You know, it's very well contained. It's beautifully balanced, and the highlights are handled wonderfully. And there's a sense of intrigue and mystery about it that really leaves us potentially going a lot of different directions in terms of interpretation. Beautiful image.
Awesome, thank you. Can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 76, a bronze award. We are going to have a challenge from Paul.
Yeah, there's so much to enjoy about this image, and in many ways, it's a celebration of you know, it's such a big part of a lot of Asian cultures is this method of travel. There's a lot of personality that's built into the type of bikes they use and what they carry with them. You know, we have this moment where we're connected on the top right that first sort of throws us back and sort of pulls us in. We've got this sense of motorized down the bottom in terms of the different kind of structures and types of bikes they're using, and right at the end we have, you know, the young sort of punk sort of kid like going in completely opposite direction, which is a little bit of a statement, I think, culturally, and how the younger generations are starting to sort of buck and move away from the fray and move away from the tradition, and it's a different type of bike again, a little bit more modernized. So there's a lot of commentary, both social and culturally, and it's presented in a really beautiful graphical way. It's quite thoughtful. There's a lot of time been put into you know, the positioning and the timing of each one is handled really well. The tonal range is gorgeous. There's a lot going on here, guys. Let's have a conversation.
Okay, I'm going to come to Catherine on 70.
Yeah, I absolutely wanted to love this. It felt like it lacked the level of finesse that I really wanted to see, and there's some very interesting characters in here. I do particularly love the lady that is yawning as she's riding her bike. The lines that have a reasonable amount of precision in the top line are then up and down in the second line, and then we've got the same sort of scenario in the last line. And I feel for that graphical nature to really carry through in a way that is strong. I feel we need to see that line coming through in all of these. I also felt that overall it was a wee bit on the flat side with the black and white conversion as well. But I'm listening.
Awesome. Thank you. And we're going to come back to Paul for right of reply.
Yeah, good comments, Catherine. I feel like there's an exact symmetry, or very, very close to it, in terms of the way that line runs through each character, and that's the thread that links through to me. And, you know, it almost gives me a little bit of extra movement by being able to go up and down and imagine the bumps in the road by it not being just so perfect, which would be this smooth kind of elegant line. And you know, it speaks a little bit about bumps in the road. I think if you push that light a bit harder in terms of contrast, you'd be losing maybe some detail on the blacks, or I think there's a softness and a fluidity that's offered us by that consistent palette that's run all the way through in terms of the light and that softness that works really well. And I think it just moves up another level in terms of its commentary around the different ages and different cultural elements, and particularly that finishing moment of youth just moving in a totally different direction from everything else. And I feel like that lifts its communication and narrative up to a higher level. So I'm on silver distinction. Please feel free to at least come up to silver.
Awesome. Judges, can I get you to rescore, please? So it's currently sitting on 76. Paul, can you re-enter your same score?
Done.
Awesome, thank you. And we have a score of 80, silver award.
Very good.
So that conversation all helped. Can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 75, bronze award. And I'm going to come to, who am I going to, Rachel, you've got a comment for the photographer.
Can I challenge?
Oh, you're challenging. Yes, most definitely you can challenge.
I really enjoyed lots and lots of things in this image. The sketch artist, the people watching, the person in the background that's photographing the artist at work. I think that it's a really classic communication of one of those tourist sketch situations that we see in so many different cities. The plastic chairs and tables, even the grain. I'm really enjoying it. I think that it's an easy silver for me.
Awesome. Jackie, I'm going to come to you. You're on 68.
Yeah, so I had this in a professional practice area because I think there's a long time to sit here and make this photograph of the artist, but there's not a lot of expression going on with the people in the background. It seemed to be sort of just not entirely disconnected, but I don't know, but I can feel their composition. Yeah, it feels good. The graininess gets in the way, and also the technique of, there seems to be quite a dark line around his hat, that it seemed a bit over processed. And I was also distracted by the image on the back of his palette there that I don't think is part of this story.
Thank you. Can anyone else wanting to comment? If not, no, we will go straight back to Rachel. Right of reply.
I get the image on the back of his palette or his sketch pad as advertising what he's doing. It speaks directly to what's going on, and with regards to the emotion or expression and the people in the background, I think that they're quite avidly studying what's taking place, what's evolving in the image. And I think it's just a generally dark environment, which is why that grains come through use of higher ISO or post-production lighting. But I'm still really enjoying it.
Fantastic. Can we get all judges to rescore, please? Rachel, if you just enter the same score. And we have a score of 76. It has moved 1 point, so well done there for the photographer. As we keep saying, every point counts when it comes for potentially the selection of the finalists. Can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 82 Silver Award. And we are going to have a challenge. I'm going to take Jackie's challenge.
I'm on 88. This character is so believable. It's an environmental portrait where everything within the frame is pointing back to him. The ladders and the structures within the room are just all part of a beautiful composition of happenstance. And his stance, that's where it comes into. His stance and his gesture with his arm, a little tweak of his head, and it's beautifully composed. Lovely black and white tones, superior in quality, 88.
Thank you. And I'm going to come to Catherine, who's on 73.
Yeah, and I don't want to get stuck too much on. I mean, the bit that's holding me back is I felt my eye didn't know where to go, and I'm very distracted by the bright elements on the right hand side foreground and the harshness of the light on those. But I'm listening 100% because I think there's a lot of interesting and very intriguing elements in this, and potentially I've got it wrong, so I'm listening.
And Matt, you're wanting to comment? You're on that silver distinction reign as well?
Yeah, I think Jackie summed that up well, but I'll just draw attention to a couple of interesting elements. So all of these pictures in the background are of men, and then there's a picture of a woman that's kind of contained within the cabinet at the back there. And I'm not sure if this man is actually involved in taking these images or selling them or what's going on, but it's kind of interesting that there could be a gender dynamic or story that's really subtly in play by having the woman kind of relegated to not being shown quite so publicly as all of the pictures of men. I also find it really quite interesting then the contradiction in having like these little cartoon rabbits on the tapestry at the back, juxtaposed with these kind of men that look like very serious generals and military figures. And there's just so many incredible details to find in this photograph that you could look at it for quite some time and still pick up new things. So I'm right up there with Jackie on this.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Paul?
Just a question, Jackie, on your right reply, like I'm considering moving up and joining you, and I just sort of wanted some help connecting the dots, I guess, a little bit with why he's there and what the images are of and how he relates to the context, perhaps, because I feel like I'm just missing that connection, and I feel like I need that to come up.
Jackie, back to you. Right of reply.
Oh, that's up to your imagination about why he's there, but it could be the back room of a shop, and he's been taken in there and he's looking around, and the photographers come in to record some sort of family history, but that every object in here is partly somehow connected with him, and that's why it's lit, I think, Catherine, because you've been asked to look around. And Matt summed it up very well, I think, about you can read a lot into here and just give it the time and the patience, and you can. And his expression, I think that's a lot of it. He's a very kind man, and I think he's allowing people into his life. This back room, it all comes together for me. And I think it will for you too.
Okay, thank you. Judges, can I get you to rescore? And we have a solid silver distinction at 87. Congratulations to the photographer. And can we have the next image, please? We have a score of 76, Bronze Award. And we can challenge. Oh, you're going to challenge, Rachel? You need to say it. Challenge.
I am sorry. I'm going to challenge. To be on my own with these though, but I find that the use of multiple exposure for this is working really well for me, as the figure of the idol being an imposing figure in somebody's life and belief. And yeah, I think it's really, really nicely handled. I'm really enjoying the control of the highlights and the coolness of the shadows. And I think it's a nice silver.
And I'm going to come to Jackie, who's on 68.
Yes, I think all I'm seeing here is technique, multiple exposure, and I don't think it's a correct technique to use for this situation to describe to me something about culture. You know, why should it be multiple exposed? And it's become a bit of a confusing storytelling element for me, and that's why I kept it in that professional practice. You know, a good technique, well used, but it's not really communicating to me on a superior level.
Hey, no other comments? We will come back to Rachel with write a reply.
So I think for me, the multiple exposure works because there are so many layers to belief in a person's life, no matter what it is that you believe in. And that does create multiplicity in so many factors. It is in the background of a lot of what everyone does. And so it works really well to speak to that for me.
Thank you. Judges, can I get you to all rescore, please? And very quick with your scores in there. It has moved 1 point. It is now on 77. Congratulations to the photographer, a solid bronze award. Okay, we're going to do just a judge change. I'm going to bring Tony back in for Rachel. You can have a little break. And David, I might bring you back in for Matt. And if we're all ready, we will have the next image, please. So what we're seeing in this category are the highest scoring entries from each entrant, so that each entrant has a highest scoring entry has come through to the live judging. The scores from the preliminary round have been wiped and the images judged afresh. And this scores a 70, solid professional standard. And I'm going to come to David for a comment, please.
Yeah, no, a delightful little moment here, perhaps of a couple of children about to explore the beach. I think there's a few little cropping issues here, maybe too much in the top left corner and not quite enough in the bottom there to get the little bloke's foot there, but improve that cropping a little bit, may have bumped it up a smidge.
Awesome, thank you very much. Can we have the next image, please? So entrants will be able to view their scores from the preliminary round in the week or so following the conclusion of the live judging and the finals judging. And we will notify all entrants via email when those scores are available. Paul, just waiting on you. Are you on it?
Yeah,
1, 2, 3.
just getting that. Might have done something funny. I'm in the box, but
yeah, you're in the wrong. Are you in the wrong spreadsheet? You
not sure what's happened.
Find
here.
your sheet. Just go to Paul.
I'm on a spreadsheet with my name on it.
No, I don't think you are actually.
Let me just give me a minute here. I'll just reopen the one from the email. Sorry about that. I'll just reopen the one from the email. Let's take me back to the same one.
Yep. If you go down to the bottom of the document, and you'll see.
Re-click on myself. There we go.
No. You're in the wrong sheet. You'll need to go down to the bottom.
Oh no, I think I am now.
No, you're on our master sheet.
Oh.
You need to go down
I'm right at the bottom. I
Yep,
just clicked my
perfect.
name,
Yep, no,
so it's gone
perfect.
green, and I
Yep,
just
no,
want to
you're
run.
right.
So, yeah.
All good, all good. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that, guys.
Okay, that's all good. We have a score of 77, a solid bronze award. And we are going to have a challenge from Catherine.
Yeah, so I gave this 94. This is like so much story in this. I mean, it's story just even in their bags. I can read a little bit in their personality from each of these bags, and then you get, I mean, it's obvious where we are. We're in, public transportation, and the body language in each of these is a closed body language. So these people are so close, and their body language is closed down. The expression on each of their faces is wonderful. The guy, second in from the left with his eyes closed and a frown, he's listening to his audiobook, or maybe he's asleep. I have no idea. Then we've got the woman's almost furrowed chin on the right. Everyone is in each other's space, but they are trying to close down as much as possible. And then we've got this movement through the reflection in the back. I find it a remarkable image of in the travel category, which really describes this scene very well. I'd also like to add this whole edge of frame tension, which really reflects onto where we are. We understand this is jam-packed with people.
Awesome. I'm going to come to David. I think we'll come to you. You're on
Yeah,
70.
no, that's right. I'm on the other end of the scale here, Catherine. I'm listening intently, but I'm at 70. I found it, my sense this was that it was a good piece of reportage in terms of just seeing a moment here, but I did feel the frame was split in that 2/3, 1/3 by the silver pole that comes down the middle of the frame here. I understand obviously that can't be moved. It's where we find it. And in terms of the five of them all being within their own little worlds, I was sort of looking for something that was just going to take me differently. What was going to sort of break that symmetry in pose, that whole sort of story. I'm looking for that one where, just something else was happening, but they're all almost like cocooning within, and I'm seeing five of that lot. So, speak to me and I can come along.
Thank you. And no, you can hear me. And Paul, you're wanting to comment.
Oh, absolutely. I'm in solid silver, and I'm probably going to come up with Catherine. I feel like the position of that pole's, you're not going to get a scene that wide without a pole in it, and I didn't even notice it till you said it, David. And it is actually positioned perfectly in terms of if it's going to be in there. What I find incredibly striking is that they're all unconscious. They all have their eyes closed. They're all in a space that speaks volumes to me of that internalization and that shrinking down that Catherine was speaking of in terms of internalizing their experience in a very intense group space. It also speaks about a certain sort of vulnerability to it, I think, with your eyes closed, and that you're not actually going to be aware of what's happening around you, and that conversation about gender, about roles and culture, about age is all very present here as well, in quite a sophisticated way. And there's an individuality you can read very clearly into each character. It's very strong image. I'm going to come join you, Catherine. Well, I'm going to come up to Silver Distinction. I'll see how I go after that.
Fantastic. Okay.
Just
Jackie, you're wanting to make a comment?
I am I was scored at 70 as well, and my problem was I think it's an often seen photograph. I've travelled in trains in Japan, and people do this. They close their eyes and go to sleep, or they look like they're going to sleep. It's part of a cultural thing, and in itself, that's it's part of professional practice. And what I was looking for, the extra level, was something happening outside that window through this travel. That there would have been something that relates to that. And it was lacking depth. Technically, I could talk about the lack of detail in the shadows underneath, and it feels quite blocky, but I just thought it was a bit commonplace. Sorry about that.
Catherine, take it away. Write a reply.
All right. And it is funny, isn't it? The things that some of us love, maybe some others are not so enamored with. But that pole, the pole is perfectly placed. And it also adds to this whole kind of representation that these people, they are in such close proximity, yet they desperately want to shut themselves down to be further away. So it's another element of separation. And then it's balanced really nicely. This guy second in from the left, he's sort of got his head back, and I feel like there's this almost ray of light sort of beaming him up. It's like, beam me up, Scotty. I just want to get out of here. This blockiness that you talk about I see it as a grittiness, you know, in the travel category where we're talking about reference of feeling of place. And while this scene may be commonplace, the capture of it, there's a lot of complexity in the details, and it does reference a time and place in a very documentative way.
Thank you, judges. Can I get you all to rescore, please? Paul, I think you might be on the wrong sheet again.
Looks the same as before, but
No, you need to, oh, no. Can I get you to put your, do you?
working, Kate?
Yep, okay, yep, no, perfect.
Looks
Awesome,
fine
thank
from
you.
my end. Yeah.
No, you're all good. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. One more. And we have a score of 83, silver award. Congratulations, and good, always good to challenge those images. Can we have the next image, please? And that happens quite frequently when one judge finds something special in an image and maybe some of the other judges don't. And that's why we have a panel of 5 judges, because we all do see things slightly different. And we have a score of 86. However, we are going to have a challenge from Tony.
Yeah, I'm on 98. I mean, this image, it just really speaks to me. I mean, I love the way they're up high, you know, raising their culture to another level. I love the separation of the background, the solid black and white, just how the photographer has separated everybody. Your eye just dances along the people, like it's just almost like piano keys, and that's the colour of their skin as well as their design on their bodies. It's very musical, it's poetic, beautiful body language. I find it very, very hard to fault, and I'm so glad that I got put back on the panel when this was going to come up. But yeah, it's just hard to fault. It really is. You know, I love the way the little boy, you know, third in, is actually looking at somebody going, am I doing this right? But yeah, it's just those long, beautiful lines, the misty background. Nothing in this image bothers me. 98.
Thank you. I'm going to come to Jackie first off, who is on 77. You do have some support towards that direction, Tony.
Okay, now I'm on 77 because I didn't believe the photograph. I don't believe it's a real moment, an honest moment. Oh, don't say, I didn't want to say that the photographer's honest, but that it's not a cultural thing that these boys do, unless you can say that they do this. It feels like they're all standing on their stilts for our photograph, and there could be a 30 or 15 photographers beside me shooting this. Technically, it's really good. You know, that's why I gave it bronze. It's sharp where it needs to be sharp, and there's nice separation. But I think that's because it's been set up against this background. The boys, their expression seems to be like, how long do we have to stay here for? You know, that kind of thing. If you can sort of bring me back from that, I'm listening. And I think it even is stronger as a bit of a crop as well. You know, they're standing out there on their own. But perhaps that, Tony, is part of what you're saying, that they're out there on their own, and their job has changed in tourism now. They don't have other kind of things to make money. They get it through being models. So that's why I was on 77. Still very good.
David, you want to comment?
Yeah, thanks, Kay. No, thank you, Tony, for bringing this up, because I'm really feeling this image. I'm really getting a emotive connection to this piece. So we're talking about the kids here on stilts, and that little fella that's obviously he's struggling to sort of be out there. Not only is his expression looking, but look at how his foot is sort of sitting sort of on that stilt. And they're sitting on obviously what has been grown. These are trees that are being cut down. And we look at the clothing that they're wearing, and the fellow that's on the far right hand side looks like his bonds are sort of showing through on the top there. And there's this sort of almost this juxtaposition between time and perhaps what is maybe a traditional practice and where they have been lined up here, Jackie, for the photo. But you look at, okay, he's got his bonds showing through, and they're standing on what looks like an asphalt road, yet there's this perhaps this practice and this body painting and all that kind of business, which speaks of practice that could be centuries or even millennia old. So I'm really enjoying that sort of that narrative that's there.
Thank you, Paul. Very briefly.
Yeah, I feel like there's a symbology that's really significant in here in terms of rites of passage and that pathway from pubescent to age, and that's mirrored graphically to us through the heights and the emotional connection we have. So the tallest and largest figure is the most confident and bold looking emotionally, and quite the opposite the other way around. So I feel like there's another conversation going on around the culture of growing into manhood.
Fantastic. And Tony, back to you, right of reply.
Yeah, I mean, Jackie, I am very sure that the photographer has set this up. And this is not the documentary category, it's the travel category. And, I've seen lots of shots set up over the years from, people out and fishing with nets and things like that. I have no problems. I mean, you can read into this that it's their way of surviving with their culture, having somebody pointing a camera at them to survive. You could say that they've had their advantage being taken of them. There's just so many stories that you can get from this. That just the wavering lines of their sticks with their bodies standing up tall and proud on top. I think it's perfect. I love look at their bodies and their arms and how everybody's just a little bit different. The guy second from the right's just like, someone just come on, just take this picture, and then so I can carry on with the rest of my day and get down. But I believe this is perfection and deservative of 98. Thank you.
Thank you, judges. Can we rescore? Tony, if you can place your same score in. And we have a score of 92, gold award. Well done. Congratulations to the photographer. Fantastic outcome for them, I'm sure. Can we have the next image, please? And one more score. And we have a bronze award at 76. Congratulations to the photographer. And we do have a challenge from Paul.
Yeah, where I feel like this really stands out to me is this wonderful perceptual depth and the level of texture and contextual cues shaped around that are just sweeping us through the frame. There's detail on the outsides where it's darker, just enough to hold us in, and there's highlights down the back to pull us down through the frame to give us that depth. But the conversation I really enjoy in particular is with the plants and with that sense of time that comes from, eventually those plants have the capacity to break down all the structure, ultimately they're going to kind of win. So there's this other conversation around time for me and place as well, with that interactivity of the natural world with the man-made world. And it's presented in a really beautiful graphical way where we're just slightly invited by this figure to take a bit of a journey with her through this place. I'm on 83.
Okay, and we are going to Jackie, who is on 72.
Pull on the chain again. Okay, me too. I thought the photographer has been in the right place, and the architect has designed it this way so that you look down this passageway. But and the correct depth of field, all of that. But what gets in the way is the person at the end. She's got in a pose that is not endearing to me. It's not creating a little negative space that's making that positive bright space there more interesting. It's become a distraction. Perhaps if she was just on the edge of the frame or something, not so important, I would have come up higher. So that's the problem. And also I had to zoom in to make sure it didn't look like two people, because she's got a bob in her hair that sits over the back of her collar that sort of looked like another head. So there was a sense of distraction there for me. I just thought it was good professional practice, well seen, but without that X factor.
Awesome. Catherine, would you have any comments to add to this? Or you...
Yeah, I feel where it's sitting right now is something that I'm quite comfortable with. I think it's been beautifully handled. The black and white's lovely. I sit with Jackie in terms of the figure with the one arm up. It's not quite coming together higher, but I'm absolutely enjoying it where it's sitting at the moment in the bronze.
Bronze 76.
Awesome. Paul, I'm going to come back to you for right of reply.
Yeah, good comments, guys. I think technically it's quite masterful handling that level of tonal range, and that narrative that I was considering and presenting to you guys about the influence and the role of and the dynamic between nature and man-made really continues really beautifully. If you walk away right on the back of that frame, she's framed by a beautiful tree, and that man-made structure is continuing, and that conversation around that dynamic between the two. It's really beautifully continued. The tonal range is handled exceptionally well. I feel like the figure is she's not so important for me. Like I said before, she's just an invitation to help us walk down the frame. And I enjoy the fact that the sense of her pace seems quite slow and considered. She's really kind of experiencing this place, and she's not rushing through. And she's still continuing further on in the journey in this next stage that she's just walking into. So to me, she's just a little hook to just pull us through the frame, rather than the heart of the conversation, which to me is more around the structural and man-made aspects. I'm on 83. See how you feel on rescoring.
Okay, judges, rescore, please. Paul, if you can just enter the same score, your same score. And we have a bronze award at 78. It has moved up a couple of points. Bronze award. Congratulations to the photographer. And we are going to have a judge change. Can I just, Paul, thank you for that comment. I'm going to give you a little break and bring in Steve. Thank you. Can we have the next image, please? And I'll just get you to mute and
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
Where's your video? Thank you.
Find myself. I've done something weird with my screen.
And one more. And we have a bronze award at 75. And we are having a challenge from Steve.
Yes, please. This image excites me. I feel that the moment that has been captured is the appropriate one, especially with those two figures down below on the sort of middle left. He's pointing directly up, and what we're doing is leading our eye up into the roofline. And the way that this tonality has been handled, it's really quite soft and subtle, yet again, almost like an etching. I gave it a solid silver, and yeah, if you can kind of look a little bit deeper and just explore around, you'll find that this is just so delicately done.
Thank you. And I'm going to come to David, who's on 72.
Yeah, no, so solid professional practice. Thank you, Kate. Thanks, Steve, for pointing this out. I love your interpretation here of the pointing up, and perhaps whether some of those cherubs that are in the ceiling are perhaps looking back down on them, and maybe that's the connection, you know. And thanks for giving us that time to sort of to find that narrative. I found the etching-like qualities, though, a little underdone in terms of their tonal values, and I felt it was a little flat and a little stayed. It's almost like I'm waiting for this image to turn color, as if there was going to be some sort of transition. Yeah, but I'm certainly listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else wanting to make a comment? Otherwise, we will go back to Steve for right of reply. Take it away, Steve.
Okay, yeah. I just want to make mention of the way that this has been handled in terms of really pulling out all that shadow detail. I'm assuming in scenes such as this that the deep shadows really do get very deep, purely because of those small windows and those really contrasty highlights. So I do feel that it's a deliberate move to the photographer to actually really change the tonality as much as they could to really bring out everything that's in the scene.
Fantastic. Thank you. Can I get judges to rescore, please? Steve, if you can just enter your same score. Yep.
Sorry.
No problem. And it's moved 2 points to 77. Solid bronze award. Congratulations to the photographer. Can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 73. However, we are going to have a challenge from David.
Indeed. No, I'm at 83. I just am so enthralled with this portrait here. I love the palette initially. It's almost a blue-white palette here. The textures that exist with this, the patina that's on the outside of that bust is reflected by the character on the inside of the bust here. You look at how gritty and dirty his shirt is, how worn the edge of his collar is, how got a bit of a turn in his eye. So it's all sort of very sort of a beaten up kind of bust and all that kind of business. Yet the warmth that he exudes at that time that comes out, and the tonality in his skin and that warmth in his pose is also echoed by that bit of hessian that sits on the left-hand side, filling the window. Yeah, it sits all very nicely within the frame that the photographer has given us here. And then we've got these nice blacks that really anchor us inside, keep us inside that bust because there's such good contrast in here. No, this is a great piece of communication.
Fantastic. Steve, oh, hang on, let me just check. No, I'm going to come to Catherine first off. She's on 67.
Cool.
And then I'll come back to you.
So I'm at the lower end. I've a really interesting character here, and I feel the textures have been seen in a lovely way. The balance of the contrast of what is on the outside is a complete distraction to me from the character in the inside. And then the overall coldness is something I'm not enjoying. I feel that we've potentially got a beautiful opportunity to have the interplay of lovely warm skin tones with the blues, and it doesn't feel cohesive, doesn't feel like it's drawn together. And also the shadowing over his face here is something that it doesn't feel like it's got the level of finesse for me to bring it into an award level.
Thank you. Steve, you're wanting to comment.
Yeah, I think Catherine pretty much summed up a lot of what I was going to mention. I feel compositionally perhaps it's a little bit unbalanced where that Hessian window on the right doesn't really lend itself much more to his expression or perhaps where he's about. And the highlights, especially up in the top left, are really being pushed to their limits in terms of overexposure.
And back to you, David.
Yeah, no, I feel that his lighting is reflective of the scene that comes in. He's almost top lit here, and it's hard lighting, but you can see what it's done to this bus. It's peeled, it's bubbled the paint, it's peeled it. Look at the seal that happens around the window on the left hand side, how that's decaying, and how it's even maybe a crack in the window is held together by a bit of electrical tape here. So yeah, it's not meant to be a soft, smooth, endearing, sort of lovely portrait. It's a gritty, textural comment. Yet that color composition between the color of his tones of his skin, particularly on his forehead, which is nice and warm, and the blues on the outside of the bust, matching almost that blue light that comes across there, gives us that warmth contrast as well. So it speaks about, even though this whole scene is beaten up, and him too, there's still a warmth that comes through, and I find it sits together quite well. I mean, even that as I said, that Hessian, and even that little splash of red that's right on the top right hand corner there, of perhaps some sort of label in there, just gives us some little warmth cues to contrast there. Obviously, I'm feeling a silver award. I perhaps encourage you to bump up a few marks, please.
Awesome. Thank you. We are currently on 73. Judges, can you please rescore? And just waiting on one to come through. And perfect, we are on 74. Not quite there, but moved up a point. Well done. And I'm sure the photographer got some value out of those comments. Can we please have the next image? And we have a score of 77, a solid bronze award. And we are all reasonably consistent there. So I am going to come to Steve. Have you got a comment for the photographer?
I do. This has all the hallmarks of an amazing image. I really do feel that the photographer needs to explore a little bit more in expanding the contrast and the tonality of the image, and really kind of coaxing out highlights and shadows. I think this would improve this image tenfold.
Fantastic, thank you. Can we have the next image, please? Next image, please, Michael. Just thank you. And we have a score of 71, solid professional standard there. And I'm going to come to Jackie. Would you have a comment for the photographer?
Yeah, right technique and nice and sharp and good colours, but we're just looking for perhaps somebody doing something up at one of those windows and doing an action shot or something that tells us more of the story of why they took the picture.
Awesome, thank you very much. And can we have the next image, please?
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Oh, you're orange, not red.
Yeah. Sorry.
Matt? Is this an image you can come back and step in for?
I could in an emergency, but I prefer not.
Okay. No, that's all good. Rachel, can I get you to pop in for us, please? So as has already been mentioned, sometimes judges feel that they can't do justice to an entry because they may know the photographer, or they just want to make sure that the judging is fair. So they do step aside to allow another judge to score the entry. And we have a silver with distinction at 85. And all very consistent there too. Can I have a comment? Who's able to comment on this one? Tony, would you have a comment on this for us?
I think the colours are fantastic in the graphic lines. I suppose that your eye doesn't have a real resting place in the end, so maybe that stopped it from going even higher, but yeah, beautifully seen and captured.
Fantastic, thanks so much. So that was a silver with distinction on 85. And we'll bring back Steve for the next image, please. Thank you, Rachel. And we have a score of 79. No one can challenge it, but we will be going through to do a score review. So there is an opportunity to rescore should you so wish. So if you can move to your rescore, I'm going to ask you, yeah?
So we don't get the comment prior to the rescore, that happens?
No.
Yeah, right, okay, thank you.
So if I can get you to enter either 79 if you wish to keep it at the bronze, or 80 if you wish it to go to silver. Tony, just waiting on you. So in your review score section.
Sorry.
And it has gone to 80, silver award. Congratulations to the photographer. Actually, just before, hang on, before we go, can you just go across to Tony, can I just get you to remove that score from the middle section? Perfect, thank you. And we will have the next image, please. We have a score of 86. And Tony, yell it out. We want a challenge from Tony. You have someone close by, so, or two people almost close by. So
yeah, I'm on 93. So you know, the sort of documentary feel to this travel image is outstanding. I mean, it's all in the communication of you know where these people are at, and you know you've got these guys that are just trained, you know, with their glasses just staring at their screen and away in that zone, and just the beautiful light coming through on their faces, just that natural light, and their bodies turned away from the man on the right who's wiping his you know, his forehead or whatever he's doing after being, you know, gaming or whatever for so long. Just that warm light coming through on the top right and in the screen on the left hand side. So it's sort of it's a really good example of colour photography in a documentary style in this travel section. And it's a very chaotic place, but the photographer has made order of that chaos and brought everything together, through that frame tension and just seeing this. Love the grain, love the body language, gold.
Okay, I'm going to come to Jackie on 78.
Yeah, and I was thinking of coming to silver, and I have seen this image before being judged somewhere, and heard discussion on it, and I had to come back to my own interpretation of it and feeling now, and I still felt that I'm being lost in the blacks, and yes, there's a lot of attention going on to the left, but I wasn't really relating to why the man on the right was so well lit, dodged. He's been lit by a screen, I guess, and the other screens in the background that we can't see that they're seeing. I just thought maybe there was a story there that I was missing. I'm listening because you love it, you're in a big way. So I'm all ears. Okay.
Okay, and we're going to go to Catherine. She would like to make a comment.
Yeah, I scored this 88, and I'm absolutely happy to see this go higher into gold. I feel that lost in the blacks is the point. This could be night, it could be day. This is the story of addiction and loss all in one. This is people hypnotized by something that is not real, that we can see by these colors, exaggerated colors on their faces. They're totally hypnotized. And then we see the result on the right, which is loss, which is angst, which is pain. And then, this is walking the thin line. And the tension around the edge of this, we see everything we need to see and nothing more. And he is crossed the line and he is going out of frame. It's very, very powerful piece.
Okay, I'm going to come to David, who would like to comment.
Yes, thank you, Kay.
86.
Yes, no, in terms of the lighting in here, I think I'd like to just address, because Catherine's brought up some really good points, which I was going to go to there, but the lighting in here, yes, those darks, if you go into those pinball parlors or something like that, they're often really they're underlit, and so it's so gritty and grungy, and this is where the noise that happens in that top right corner is so apparent that they're not clean normally either, kind of business, and so it gives you that real sort of sense of grit that comes in there, and it plays to this sort of this disparity in emotion, as Catherine was talking about. These guys are sort of looking into this machine here. That particularly the fellow that's standing up with his hand there, he's got this almost like zombie-like stare that's sort of just so entrancing here and so removed from this fellow that looks like, I wasn't sure whether he was wiping his brow or whether he was actually really distressed and pouring into his hands, but nonetheless, still this fellow may as well not exist to these other guys.
Okay, I think we're going to bring it back to you, Tony, now for right of reply.
Yes, so Catherine pretty well nailed it, but yeah, I just love the edge tension of the guy with the cloth, and just then you look across and see the mask, and also the guy in the foreground on the right, his legs crossed, and there's just a line running right up to the screen, up to the top left, with the boy that you can just see one part of his glasses. It just shows you that with that addiction and the seediness of these places and the darkness, that there's an age. There's no age thing. I mean, the man in the foreground is a lot older than the boys. So it just shows you, what these places do and how they capture you with that bright light. But yeah, I don't mind the dropping off the light, because I feel that's natural. But I think the lights in the right places, it's on their faces, because that's how these machines work, how they attract you to them with their flashing lights, and you can see that in their faces. It's intense, it's honest, and it's a good goal. Let's go there.
Awesome. Can I get you all to rescore? Tony, if you can enter the same score, please. We have solid gold, 91. Congratulations to the photographer. Well done. Yeah. Okay, and that is a probably a fantastic end to the category, the live judging of the travel category. So what I want you to do is I want to just first off thank all of the judges for putting in their time. They've provided some amazing feedback and amazing commentary for those watching out there in live audience land. I want to thank those working behind the scenes down in all across the country. Thank you so much, Michael, doing the live streaming and Zoom session. So we're going to now just have another play of the promo to thank our sponsor for this category, Nomadic Planet, and then we're going to do another final run through of all of the entries into this year's travel category. And if all the judges can just hang around for a little bit, I'm going to speak to you very shortly.